Okay, so today we have come to our final session for the cybersecurity unit. And
Okay.
after this, we will have our assignment discussion. So what we will cover today, we are going to cover the unit 3, which is understand cyber threat intelligence. So what do we mean by this? We're going to look into protecting systems. People and processor cloud will be included. And what we'll cover, we're going to look into training for staff in terms of awareness, attacks, such as simulated attacks on the network, policies, accreditation, detection, audits, and suitable softwares. So as we already know, a cyber attack is it's a very skillful action where these people, these black hat hackers, will now conduct this type of attack through a very smart thinking. So this threat, a cyber threat intelligence, is simply the information and organization used to understand the threat that have, will, or are currently targeting the organization sources, such as open source intelligence, social media intelligence, human intelligence, and technical intelligence, or deep and dark web intelligence. So we all know what a threat is. So the threat is simply the action of putting in danger or conducting an attack into somebody or an organization. So our company has a small, medium, or large size business. We need to have a cyber threat intelligence. So we need to be aware of our vulnerability and how these people can now attack. Also, we need to know what is exploit. So what do we mean by exploitation? Exploitation is simply gaining access to unauthorized content or unauthorized accounts through a cyber attack. So as we can see here, code that takes advantage of a software vulnerability or a security flow. So a remote exploitation can now occur over a network, and it can now exploit all our vulnerability without any prior access to our vulnerable system. So we have looked into our key terminology in our past tutorials. And we have also looked into cyber attacks and how these have been done. So we also referred to the type of attacks. So we looked into what is a bot, a malware. We looked into phishing, man in the middleware, denial of service, SQL injection, and DNS tunneling. Also, we looked into forensic. We have looked into the legislation and the act which are going to protect us from any type of attack. So we have mentioned a couple of them, such as data protection, which it covers GDPR. Also, we have Freedom of Information Act, privacy and electronic communication, and so on. So all these regulations are out there to protect our governance, protect us from any sort of legal side that can occur when having a cyber attack. So we will not look at them in details because we have covered them already in our previous tutorial. So now we will jump straight into our activity criteria number 3, where we're going to outline the policies that could be implemented in a chosen work environment. So what do we mean by policies? So we all know that when it comes to working in IT infrastructure, there are loads of policies that has to be respected and maintained in order for everyone to coexist and work together in the same environment. So these type of policies will now include the data security standard, which is now the IT protection. Also, we have the networking components, which are physical devices, which are all required for the communication and interaction between users and devices. Then there are policies regarding firewalls, switches and hubs, bridges and routers. So here is a simple reconstruction. On the image, you can see the reconstruction of a network system and what are the physical component which makes up our network. So we have endpoint. We have our endpoint user. So we have our user. We have endpoint devices such as smartphone, laptop, tablets, whatever, which are now going to be connected wirelessly. So over the network, they will now connect our router, where our router will now have in place some firewalls, some security system, in order for us to not have any exposure to attacks over the network. And also, this router will now be connected to a switch and a hub. Also, another way for us to maintain our system safe is through strong password, which we mentioned yesterday. And also, as a company, we need to run this penetration testing in order for us to understand how secure is our network. Also, we mentioned some best practice for us to stay safe, like reducing our exposure. So we mentioned platforms like social media or other type of online activities. Maybe if working from home, we need to be aware of this.
I have a question about whitelisting.
Yes.
Because if you go to like if you have a router, and then you go to its settings, you might be able to see all the connections connected to the Wi-Fi connection, all the users, and it gives you an option to either blacklist or whitelist. What is the difference? And is blacklisting like preventing the people from accessing the network, or is whitelisting the one that prevents people from accessing the network?
The blacklisting is the one that prevents from people accessing. So you will now reduce the permission to unauthorized people.
But that doesn't completely remove them from the connection. I mean, from the from the connection.
No, you're just acting as an administrator, where you're just reducing the permission of people who can access the network.
So how do I block someone or remove them entirely from my network? I don't want them, because changing the password is fine, but what if someone hacks my internet, if someone hacks my network and I constantly change the password, but they keep finding a way to hack in and use it?
Now you just need a stronger firewall system. As I said, there's always a way to break through. So even if you block, most hackers will always find a way to break through. So you just need to have a really strong firewall or a stronger virtual private network, strong VPN, something that ensures that no one can break through your system.
And how do I know if someone has hacked my network? Like they're using it without my permission?
As I said, like all these antivirus softwares always does a lot of reporting, and they can alert you on any type of attack which is being done, which is done into your system. So I suggest you to look online. There are really good sites where they offer really good VPNs or firewall systems. I think there was one called Open VPN or something like that. I think it is.
I don't know if you guys have it in the UK, but here there's this company called, or telecommunications company called AFRIHost, and they, provide people the internet, etc., etc. Like, how you buy internet and use it in general. That you cannot use that connection privately. Like, since the company that provides you with internet, it's like your internet service provider, that connection is not private. Like, whoever has a password, they can use it. You can't like close it with like make it private.
Sorry, I don't know how this company are managing the security systems.
Okay. Right. On to the next thing. Thanks, Victor.
No problem. Okay, so what did we mention? Oh, we mentioned some good ways for us to reduce our exposure. Also, there are security monitoring, and so as for instance, if you work in a company, they might hire some cybersecurity analysts who now work on to monitoring the activities and logs of users, so they are able to identify any type of unexpected or unauthorized user. Also, it is important to train and educate our employees on this sort of risks. So these are some figures coming from the government, from the National Cybersecurity Center, with some figures related attacks which have occurred over the years in the UK. So we also mentioned yesterday some tips for us to stay safe over the internet.
Okay.
Also, watch this video, which will give us.
If you're a tech startup founder who's looking to raise venture capital, I will show you in this compact video 2 things. First, how I can.
The 10 Steps to Cybersecurity Guidance was originally written in 2012 by CESG, the NCSC's predecessor. Quite a lot has changed since then, especially how we're using technology and the new risks we now face online. But it's not just changes in the external environment, such as the huge growth in our use of cloud services, and more recently, the shift to home and mobile working. It's also changes in the nature of the threats that organisations face. Threats such as ransomware, which affects all sectors and organisations, regardless of their type or size. Our understanding of changes to both technology and people has continued to evolve over the last 9 years, so we felt it was a good time to refresh our 10 Steps to Cybersecurity Guidance to ensure it remains relevant ahead of its 10th anniversary. Not everything has changed. There are still 10 steps, and we still cover familiar topics such as incident management and secure configuration. But we have updated these in line with changes to more recent guidance, including the cloud security principles and guidance on mitigating malware and ransomware attacks. We've restructured the steps to cover certain topics that customers ask for more details about, such as data protection, and there's a new section on supply chain security in light of the types of cyber incident we are now increasingly seeing. It's It's also worth clarifying the audience for this revised version of 10 Steps to Cybersecurity. 10 Steps is now squarely aimed at security professionals and technical staff who are working for or supporting medium to large organisations. By working through the sections, technical staff can follow the links into more detailed NCSC guidance if needed. 10 Steps can also be used alongside the NCSC's Cybersecurity Toolkit for boards, which we published in 2019, specifically for board members who may not be cyber experts. The board toolkit helps frame discussions between the board and technical experts and replaces the executive summary section of the original 10 steps. Putting this all together then, 10 steps now look like this. Risk management. Take a risk-based approach to securing your data and systems. Engagement and training. Collaboratively build security that works for people in your organisation. Asset management. Know what data and systems you have and what business need they support. Architecture and configuration. Design, build, maintain and manage systems securely. Equally, organisations should understand vulnerability management. Keep your systems protected throughout their life cycle. Identity and access management. Control who and what can access your systems and data. Data security. Protect data where it is vulnerable. Logging and monitoring. Design your systems to be able to detect and investigate incidents. Rounding off the updated steps. Incident management. Plan your response to cyber incidents in advance. Supply chain security. Collaborate with your suppliers and partners. As ever, we welcome your feedback to ensure our advice remains relevant and useful, so please get in touch using the NCSC's Contact Us page. Here's to another 10 years.
Okay, so the video explained us the 10 steps to cybersecurity and how these can continue on evolving over the years. Now we're going to look into explaining the effective prevention methods. So what do we mean by prevention methods? We're just going to look into how our system and network use malicious code, where cyber attacks use malicious code to compromise our computer, and how this cyber attacks prevention is essential for every business and organization. So here we have some example and the type of data breaches. So I think we have already covered it multiple times. We've also explained how we have to train the staff. So this is very basic concept where we need to always keep our software up to date to ensure everything is up to date. Also, we need to ensure our endpoint protection. So what do we mean with this? We're just simply going to protect networks that are remotely breached to devices. So when it comes to mobile devices, smartphone, tablets, all of them, they are now connected to a corporate network, which will give them access to any part and to the security threat. So endpoint security and mobile because for many reasons. So depending if the organization will provide you with a work phone, a laptop phone, there are some policies such as bring your own device policy, which are going to protect you in case there is any sort of attack which has happening to the company. So depending where you work, you have to be aware that there is policies like bring your own device, and there are many others. So you are entitled. So you have to be aware of these, because some companies gives you their own work phone or their own assets, while other company do not have the facilities for that. So you now have to work with your own assets.
Right.
We've looked into other best practice. Backup your data, obviously, is one of the most important thing when it comes to security, because whenever there's like any malicious attack and you're now required to, for some reason you lost maybe a website or a system or some software, it is always best to have a backup of that in order for you to restore your backup quickly, and you're now able to get back to normal in a few time. Also, we have access management, where it is simply our admin who has the right to manage all the system is now able to block or give permission to staff to work with any sort of technology. So most of these things we have covered them. So there are some regulations, some important regulation and stuff that we need to know, such as the ISO ISO 2. So there are good certifications which I would suggest you to have a look into. So when we mentioned access management, so the ISO 2000 gives us a good knowledge of service management and service management system requirements. So as we can see, there is all the documentation. So this is a certification as well, which gives you, so this is a certification which you can show if you're looking for a job as a information security analyst or technician. You can show, can prove this as a certification that you are. So let's see what the aim was. The aim. So this document specifies the requirements for organization to establish, implement, maintain, and continue to improve a service management system. So the requirements specified in this document include the planning, design, transition, and delivery of an improvement of service to meet the service requirement and deliver value. So when it comes, if you're interested in obtaining some certification for you to work in the cybersecurity field, I would say this is a very recommended one. This will give you put you in a good position where you can now apply for these sort of jobs. You can also,
but this is in cybersecurity, right?
Yes, this is all related to cybersecurity, information security and cybersecurity. Yeah. I'll say you could go through Allison. So there is a good website, Allison, where you can take the course from there. You can do it from there. So this is you get an accredited CPD for you can get a CPD accreditation, and you now also have like a final assessment for this. And this is a kind of recognized certification. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so as you can see, ISO, there are different types of them. So there are plenty of them. And this one here, it is the international standard for an ISMS, and advocates the combination of these three pillars. So what happens is that this will now ensure every aspect of cybersecurity is addressed within the organization. So by you having the knowledge of this, you can now put you in a good position to apply for these jobs. So this was everything for today's session. Is there any question for me?
I have a few questions about the previous assignment.
Yes. Let me start.
Right. Okay. And are you going to give me this week's assignment or until I submit the previous one?
1 second, just give me a second.